Hello, welcome back to Traffic Time with Jaime. Appreciate you coming back, visiting, stopping by if this is your first time. I will be going over some topics that come to mind as I take these long drives home. Some of these topics I'm sure you've come across yourself. Maybe you haven't. Maybe it's something that will be new to you, or it's something that you've gone over and over and you need some other perspectives. We're going to get right into it. Today's topic is going to be to buy a home or not to buy a home. Now, I will start by saying that I do own a home. My wife and I have been in our current home close to a decade. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of pros and cons, in my opinion, and what those pros and cons are to me might be different for you guys. So I will give you the best open thoughts that I have about owning a home. We have rented condos and apartments before. I'll try to visit all the above, just to kind of give you an idea. Now let's assume and forget about the pricing of the homes right now, how difficult it might be for somebody to get a home. Those obstacles might be different from person to person or family to family, so we're not really going to discuss those today. We're going to just talk about just in general the things that come with owning a home that some people might not tell you. I know the first thing that comes to mind is the finances, how much you make, how much you can afford. But again, assuming that you qualify for a home and you're ready to go into a home, is it really the best choice for you, and is it something that is going to fit your lifestyle? So going in reverse from currently right now owning a home, and we'll go backwards in time to when we didn't own a home. Right now, some of the best things that I enjoy about owning a home is that I don't have rowdy upstairs or downstairs neighbors. There's no crazy kids, no wild kids, nobody to tell to be quiet. That's gonna be underneath us or above us when we're trying to sleep in the afternoon, at night, whenever we're trying to take a nap, relax, whatever it is. There's nobody that's bothering us. Another big thing is that I can be in the backyard, and I have a big enough backyard that my kids could do their own thing. I could be back there playing with them or doing my own thing. There's enough space in our lot to be able to move around and enjoy our backyard. Now, our backyard does have a pool, so we gave up half the yard for a pool, but that is something that we enjoy. We love the summers, we love the warm time, we like jumping in the pool. Our son learned to swim at a young age, so he's been swimming for years now as well. It does come with a small jacuzzi to relax in, so we don't have to technically be swimming back and forth. We can relax. It has steps to sit in. It is a great feeling to just be back there, especially when I barbecue or I cook for my family. Enjoy time back there when we host. Being able to host and have the space to be able to be back there, whether it be a small get-together. We've held baby showers, birthday parties, you name it, we've tried to host it. It can get a little crowded, but knowing that it's not going to get affected by our neighbors to the sides of us, behind us, depending on where you're at, you could have one neighbor, you can have 3 or 4 neighbors, depending on the angle of your house, a corner lot, corner apartment, you name it. There's many scenarios to it. Another great thing is I love to work on my vehicle. I love to work around the house. Nobody really likes to have project after project after project, but I do enjoy using my hands. I have tools. I love woodworking. Once I can get a nice welder, I'll be doing some metal work. But in general, I love doing things around the house, things that I can get creative with, things that might be simple. I love doing it. In an apartment, there's not much to do. You can't modify your apartment. You can't really do anything to it aside from building some tables or some, entertainment centers to be able to use. You're not gonna be able to build or modify a lot. I have the space to do so with the house. I can, cut, build, do whatever in the garage, in the front of the garage, in the back of the house, wherever I want to. I have the freedom to do so. To work in my car, I have a driveway that I can put my cars in. I can technically still park it in the front of the house and work on it. Maybe not the safest, but if I need it, the space is there in the front of the house as well. Now, granted, depending on where you're at, city, state, I understand that parking in the front of your house might not be available. You might live in entire areas, places where you're lucky if you get parking in the front of your own home in the afternoons, which is why it's a key thing to have a driveway or a space in the garage to park your vehicle. That was some of the biggest things that I was looking for when I was trying to decide with my spouse if we were gonna get a house. Looking back to when we were younger, before we had a home, I didn't think too much about what I wanted out of a house. The biggest key thing that I found out early on when we did have an apartment, why I wanted a house, was because I couldn't stand having people around me that close. Now, in an apartment, again, you have somebody above you or below you. You might be lucky not to have either. It might be a one-level apartment complex. We have had a condo where we only had one neighbor, paired to the home. So one big wall, not too noisy, not too hectic. Small patio in the back. Then you have the neighbor behind. Again, not the biggest issue. Now, if we would have had some loud, noisy neighbors, rowdy kids, or whatever, that would have been the biggest headache to us. Not to say that you can't have rowdy and loud neighbors when you own a home, but you have a bigger gap typically from the noise into your home, which is another thing to look into. Obviously, when you're home shopping, is to assess the neighborhood that you're trying to look into. Look at the type of neighbors you have, if it's possible. Drive by in the afternoons, on weekends, times where the neighbors will be home, and I'll give you an idea of what the noise level is at. If none of those things matter to you, and you're considering more for space issues, then again, a home sounds like that would be the best choice for you. A great upside to not having a home, to having an apartment, is that you're not having to do those same projects that you would in a house. And again, I enjoy most of them, but having to do them all the time can bear down on you if you have a lot of other things going on that you want to attend. Having an apartment was great to just be able to come into. The biggest things we had were regular upkeep, laundry, vacuuming, basic household chores. They were fast, smaller place. It didn't take days to complete. Yes, I say days in a home, depending on what you're trying to take care of, what you're trying to clean. It could take more than a couple hours, especially if you work full time. If you and your spouse work full time, doing small projects, small cleanups or small areas can take longer than a couple of hours. But aside from that, again, depending on your situation, it could be done a lot sooner. But again, depending on the sizing of your apartment, the sizing of your house, that's one positive or pro that I enjoyed about the apartment. Another thing is, even though I love the yard space and I don't mind doing the maintenance work on the yards. When you're really busy, whether it's because of work busy, you have a new family member, you have kids, let's say you're about to have a kid, those times become real hectic, and the amount of time you have per day to spend on those extra chores tend to be 0 to a few minutes a day, right? For those of you that have kids, you'll understand. For the most part, people prep, their new room, their new space, and that takes time away from doing other things around the house. In an apartment, you pretty much all you have to do is move around some furniture, maybe re-prep a room. Maybe you do have a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, you're making one into a nursery, or combining kids' rooms together. You're just moving around some piece of furniture, reshuffling some boxes. You might have to move some things to storage, but that's it. That's not nothing that most people can't take on. But with that same idea, same topic on the storage, in a home, you have your garage. It might have an attic. You might have space above the garage. It's technically not an attic, but you have spacing above. You can create racking, shelving. There's much more space to store items, which if you're not careful, there is a fine line between hoarding and just storing a lot of items, right? But as you move around, home to home, place to place, you start to realize how much you can accumulate, especially moments or keepsakes that you have from events in your life that you're trying to hold on to that can't take a lot of space. In a home, again, you're keeping all those items in your home. When you have an apartment, as those things build up, you start to run out of space in your apartment pretty fast. So then people go into storage. Storage typically starts to become expensive when you have bigger and bigger spaces, and as you hold them on for longer. As rent prices have gone up, renting the place plus renting a storage unit, you're pretty much spending the same amount a month that you would on a mortgage. So kind of consider those factors as well. Another factor that I never really thought about, that I came across now as I thought about this topic, was that as we were younger, I worked in retail, I worked different shifts, worked weekends. My wife was working a full-time job and some really hectic work, trying to go to school. After that, then we were having our firstborn, taking care of our son at a young age. All that amount of time spent away from your home seems like a wasted amount of money going into a home. And most people will tell you that is, if you're not going to be at your site, at your place, the place you call home, why would you spend a lot of money on it? Now, that was one of the positives of having an apartment at a younger age, is that when the lease ended, and we were planning on moving somewhere else, we would just up and move to another location. If you purchase a home, it does become a hassle to move. It's not as easy as just finishing that lease and moving out. You have to put the home in the market. You have to try to get what you pay for at minimum, and again, those take 30 to 45 days minimum to process out. I'm sure purchasing the home takes longer, but selling, you just have to wait for offers. But even then, banks have to approve those offers, so it does take some time. It's not as easy as packing up and moving out, in a week or two. So consider that. Now, if you're planning on purchasing a home to make some money, you're thinking, you know what? The housing market keeps going up. Even if it dips, it'll come back around. I would like to make some money. It's kind of like playing the stocks. Stocks and housing eventually go down. If you look at history, yes, they go down. They might not go as low as they were, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And, we can only pray that they don't do that anytime soon, or ever at that matter. But they eventually go down or hold steady. So you have to hold on to your home for a couple of years before you can get some money out of it. Now, the great thing is, without giving you any financial advice, there are options to do after a year or two. Taking out lines of credit out of your home, refinancing to get some cash out. There's a lot of things that you can do out there to get some cash if you need it for whatever purposes, if you're still trying to stay in your home. But if you're trying to sell it, again, I would recommend sticking it out a couple of years. But it goes back to, are you willing to stay in one place for a couple of years? Does it fit your lifestyle? Does it fit your career? Are you going through school, about to finish school? Are you trying to get into a new field, and that might take you out of your city, out of your state? Think about the next 3 to 5 years of your life and have some type of idea of where you want to be and what you want to do. If you're not too sold on purchasing a home, and you also don't know, or you can't see past a year of your life because you have so much going on, you need some steadiness, then I will highly recommend an apartment. Yes, it's like leasing a vehicle. That money's pretty much just being paid out to that company to borrow that place or a car, right? But at least you're gonna be steady in that location. You can plan out your life for the next couple of years. You can save money or decide what you want to do with the money. Plus, it gives you some more time to really think about, do I really want to purchase a home? Another side to try to decide if you want to buy a home is, where are you in a relationship, if you have a relationship? Not that I feel like that should really be a factor, but if you're newlywed or about to get married, or been married for a couple of years and you've been saving up for a home, is it the best thing for the both of you? Do you feel like you're spending more on rent than a home, and you can use the savings to have a steady location? Are either of you or both of you willing to put the work and effort that it takes to maintain a home? You might be able to get a newer home or brand new home and have minimal work to do on it, regular upkeep, not a lot of work around the house, on the outside of the house. So you could, again, be in a place where you won't have to do much more work than you do in an apartment. But as the years pass by, you'll need a tweak here and there, possibly paint, add a fixture, fix this, fix that, maintain the yard if you don't want to pay somebody. Those are some of the add-ons that will come along with the home as the years go by. I know plenty of people that have stayed in apartments and still have apartments because they feel that they don't want to take on those responsibilities. Some never have the opportunity to do so, financially or for whatever other reason, but others, it's a willing choice, and I respect that choice for whatever they want to do, whatever fits them best. If I were able to go back, I would definitely have held off maybe a year or two. I feel for myself and my family, a home is the best option, especially with 2 kids. You want to provide that space and that room to play, have their own rooms. They love the backyard, they love the pool. So we've been blessed enough to have that for our family. But again, as we were younger, newlyweds, we went out a lot, we worked a lot, we enjoyed going and visiting family members, amusement parks, theme parks. We tried to do as much as we could, and it didn't really involve being in our home. So having an apartment / condo was the best option. Now granted, when we were a little younger, for rent was not as expensive, even though then we thought it was expensive to get a 2 or 3 bedroom. Comparing those prices to prices nowadays in our areas is nothing. The crazier thing is that in our area, which is Southern California, the rent for a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, depending on what city you're in, can cost the same, if not more, than some mortgages. Now, comparing it to prices and interest rates now, it is a little off, and it's probably more expensive in a home. But for those individuals that bought homes, 10, 15 years ago, before everything blew up, it's gonna be more expensive to have an apartment than to be in those homes. There are people, individuals, investors that did purchase homes back then and are renting those homes out for the same as a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, which again, the perk about renting a home versus renting an apartment is that space. You still don't own that property. That money goes to somebody else, but the responsibilities of maintaining and paying for the big upkeep and the repairs belong to the owner. Same thing with an apartment complex. The same goes to a home. So again, those are some of the key things to consider, to think about. It's a big choice to make, big responsibility, but again, it's not set in stone. You're not locked in forever. You can sell it whenever you're ready to sell, especially if you wait a little bit. There's a chance that you could make some money, a chance you can make a lot of money. Just have to be aware of what you're trying to get into and where you're trying to move into. Highly recommend definitely speaking to friends and family that have owned homes for a while. Talk to realtors that are knowledgeable in the areas that you're trying to purchase, because they'll know the types of areas, they'll have visited those areas, and kind of give you ideas of what your best options are. So again, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate your time. Hope you have a safe drive this afternoon or in the morning, whenever you're watching this, or if you're at home, enjoy your day. I'll see you next time.